Zap-stract kinetics. Time to put more paint on that panel. Here I'm using a stippling technique, and I'm using a kind of light gray, a neutral light gray. And notice that with every brush stroke I am making a bunch of dots. So it's a very fast way of trying to get a pattern down without having to do it a million times. It also gives a nice array of dots. Sometimes when we do it one by hand, it has a mechanical feeling about it, especially if you get bored after 5 minutes. So this is one way to circumvent that problem. So I'm using it for different things in this. This is a panel, this painting has 2 images on it. Again, searching for comic book like paintings, and this is comic book type imagery where 2 or more images are working off each other. And the top one is a man who's looking at a cell phone, and you can't tell that from this point of view because I've already covered up a lot of the line drawing. But the idea is that once I finish this side of the painting, so you have a black line drawing that will be seen through the other side, and you'll be able to see the man in his cell phone. And then the one under it is a more surreal image of a creature looking over a maze. So the maze doesn't have a roof. You can see down on it as if it were a toy or something. And this creature is looking down on this maze, and there's a man in there, and it looks very similar to the man that's in the room looking at the cell phone. The biggest problem with working with colors and laying them down one over the other and having them interrelate next to each other is that you don't really know what you're getting if you don't peel off that blue film. I think from now on I may have to start peeling it off more than I'd like to, and the reason is because I've been getting more and more disappointments, and I'm trying to mitigate those. All the colors you see there along the top and the left side, they're all pre-mixed colors that I put 2 or 3 colors together in one of these containers, and I have them readily available. I do this for a couple of different reasons. One is to give me more variety, but the other reason is to give me consistency. So if I need that, I don't know, that light yellow that you see up in the close to the upper left corner, if I need that over and over again, it's available to me. It's already pre-mixed, and I have a lot of it there. So it really gives me more variety, and at the same time it reins in the colors. It helps me rein in the colors. Those are my colors. Those are the colors that I usually use for opaque applications. So there's 2 kinds of applications when you're putting down paint. When you're putting down paint, you either have transparent paint, transparent or translucent, and then you have the opaque paint. Now, and that really depends on the color, and of course it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. Colors like phthalo blue and phthalo green and quinacridone magenta and nickel azo yellow, those colors are inherently transparent. So it's very difficult to use them in an opaque manner where you're trying to cover something up with paint. So like right now, that color the warm color I'm putting down is an opaque color. It's covering up most of what I brush it on. Transparent colors are better for watercolor effects or for glazes. Okay, so watercolor effects, we know if you've done watercolor, all you do is you put a little bit of color with a lot of water, and then you do your painting with that, your watercoloring with that. Well, in oils you have a similar thing. It's not really similar. The idea is similar, but the actual effects are quite different. But you have something called glazes, and what you do with a glaze is, this is like an old master's technique. This is what they did back in the Renaissance and in the Baroque era and onward, up until the Impressionists. I think it was the Impressionists that probably, because of Impressionism, fewer and fewer people were using this, step-by-step technique. And the steps were this: that when you made your painting, you actually made it in a monochromatic color, so maybe like a brown or a green or a gray. And what you did was you started to apply glazes, and it was basically a little bit of color mixed with some medium, the medium that you were using. So in oil paints back in the day, it could be something like a mixture of Damar varnish, linseed oil, and turpentine. And the formula that I learned back a long time ago when I was doing oil painting was 2-2-2-1. So 2 parts Damar varnish, 2 parts linseed oil, and 2 parts turpentine with 1 part of color. So it's a little bit of color and a lot of medium. So 6 parts medium, 1 part color. In acrylics, you would use an acrylic medium. So for example, if I were to do a glaze, I'd probably use something like GAC 100, GAC 100, or a gloss polymer medium. And basically it's a liquid medium, and you could thin down the color and have it be see-through, right? Well, all the colors that you see in front of you that are pre-mixed, the ones that I made sure that they were all opaque. I wanted opaque colors in those mixtures. So that doesn't mean I don't use transparent colors. I use them quite a lot actually, but when I'm doing the reverse paintings on the glass, on the plexiglass, so that you can see them on the other side, I almost never use transparent colors. I've tried it, and I'm still trying to get the hang of it. It's a little bit difficult to use because you don't really know what you're getting until you put the opaque color on top of it, and by that time it's too late. The transparent color had already dried, and there's no way to, if you made a mistake, there's no way to correct that. So transparent colors I usually use on the front sides when I'm working on the skins before I attach them to the panels. So here, as you can see, I'm using that color a bit to unify everything. So I'm putting it over the gray mottled texture I had put before with the brush that was splayed, right? So when I was talking about stippling with many dots all at once. So I'm putting it over that to get this mottled effect with that neutral gray, light gray color, as it's interspersed with this warmer yellowish, this very light yellow color. And I don't really know what effect I'm getting. Eventually I do find out what I get, and like I said, I wasn't very crazy about it. I thought it would work. In theory, the theory told me it was going to work, and then when I looked at the effects, it wasn't what I had imagined. And I think a lot of that has to do with, well, you don't really, when you're factoring in theory, you're not looking at the whole picture, and the whole picture has other elements in it that are not coinciding with theory. So in this case, I got a lot of green. You see that grayish green everywhere, and other effects, and something in there. When you look at that yellow mixed with the light gray, something in there came together, all together as far as an area or a space, and it didn't really work for me. And I think a lot of that also has to do with subjective taste. So it's a personal thing. So maybe I was thinking about one thing, and that's really what I wanted, and then I peel off the blue film, and I find out I'm getting a different thing, something that I didn't expect and I didn't want. But maybe it wasn't quite that bad. I actually haven't seen this painting in a while, and I don't really know what I would think about it today. I did this a couple of months ago, by the way. So, I don't know. It's one of those things. It's the kind of thing that you look at an old painting or an old drawing, and you used to like it, and then you look at it now, and you're like, why did I like this? Oh my God, it's terrible. And then the same thing in reverse. There's an old drawing that you didn't think very much of. You find it one day and you think, wow, it's not as bad as I thought. And that's the reaction I would get from this in a few more months. I did this about a couple of months ago, so it's still a little fresh in my mind as far as if I were to look at it today, right now, I probably would still feel, not as happy about it for various reasons. But who knows? And once I completely forget about it, maybe in 2 years, and I'm doing something else and focused on a different series of work, I might think better of it. I don't know. I had to take a lot of care in making sure that I painted within the lines. It's kind of like coloring books back in the day. They tell you have to color within the lines. And then, of course, there are others that believe that if you want to be creative, you don't have to color in the lines. You could do whatever you want, which, I guess it depends on your taste. But And for me, I'm trying to color in the lines here because I think it makes a difference. I want clarity on the other side. And I feel that some of these skins that I've been working on over the past few years, some of them are a little abstracted and they're hard to tell what's going on. And what I mentioned before in another video is that if I were to clarify it on the backside, somebody were to look at the backside and go, oh, I see that, and then they turn it back around and look at the front side again, they would be able to see it. They'd crack the code, basically, right? And so I took a lot of care in making sure that I did color within the lines. You know, looking at that blue-gray and how it's working with everything else, I don't think it looks bad at all. On this side, so far, it actually looks okay. It looks harmonious. And so it's one of those things that you think that you've got it right, and you're not going to know until you finally see the whole thing, you know, everything all at once when you peel off the backside. When I'm painting on the backsides, I usually flip the painting around, turn it around and around and around because I'm trying to get the best angle. I don't want to move myself, of course, and honestly, in those days, when I was painting this, there were paintings everywhere because I was finishing a bunch of stuff. It was the end of the year. It was too much, and I certainly didn't have that luxury. So I'm here, I'm turning it around and turning it around, but it's really something I don't normally do, especially when I've got the skin. The original paint skin is under the plexiglass, and I'm kind of following it when I'm doing the line drawing at the beginning. I don't want to turn it around because if I do, I'll lose the alignment between the skin and the panel. I've trained myself a long time ago not to have to do that, not to have to turn the paper around to get the best angle to do my shading or to do my line or whatever. But there are exceptions to that, and this is one of them. When I'm working on the back sides of when I'm coloring them, basically, I'm putting in the paint, I definitely do fish around for that great angle. And that's it. If you like what you see, then like and subscribe to Zap-stract Kinetics. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to new videos. Follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/Ray Armenteros. That's ReyArmenteros. And on Instagram at instagram.com/Ray_Armenteros. That's Ray, REY_ARMENTEROS. Thanks for watching.